I wanted to pick up some of the themes that John Cridland eloquently outlined. And my themes for the few slides that I've got are about collaboration and partnership, about ambition and opportunity, and about making sure that the single voice for the North is there to be heard and maintains the momentum that we've built up over the last 2 years. I want to talk to you about what TfN is now and what it will be in the future, how and why we're shaping the strategic transport plan that we're here to discuss today, and what you, more importantly, what you can do as individuals, as business leaders, as local civic leaders, to take forward and build on the momentum for Transport for the North. Although we're called Transport for the North, it's absolutely clear that we're part of an economic project. We're about driving economic growth and increasing the number of jobs in the north of England. That is our core rationale. All we have to do is put in place a transport plan that joins the dots, connects the people and the goods across the north of England to drive the northern powerhouse economy across the north of England. We are a big economic unit. Transport for the North, as John has already outlined, is a collaboration, a public-private partnership between 11 local enterprise partnerships, between 19 local transport authorities at the most senior political level across the north of England. In collaboration with central government, High Speed 2, Network Rail and Highways England. It's bringing together at the highest level a public-private partnership which will identify the transport priorities for the north that should lead to economic growth and jobs creation. But we're also sensible enough to know that you can't plan strategic transport up to administrative boundaries. That's why we have MOUs in place with Transport Scotland, the Welsh Assembly Government, and a working arrangement with Midlands Connect to make sure that our plans fit their economic and transport plans so that we're planning strategic transport across the boundaries. Later this year, we will become England's first subnational transport body, under legislation passed just 16 months ago, to create a voice for strategic transport priorities on behalf of the 16 million people in the north of England. That is a first step in devolution, which I believe will put Transport for the North and the North in a better place to argue for further powers and funding from central government to deliver our economic and transport priorities. Our job is to produce a transport plan that is coherent for our requirements, for the business requirements in the north, to link those economic assets and opportunities, and to make sure that we're delivering that through a strong public and private collaboration. So as we unveil today the evidence and the outline work that we've done on the strategic transport plan, yes, there's a lot of analysis there, but it needs to feel right, particularly for the business people in the room and across the north of England. Are we as transport professionals actually representing the requirements of your businesses now, but also in the future? We will produce, through Transport for the North, one strong strategic voice on key transport issues across the north of England. It will enable us to negotiate with national agencies and the Department for Transport to ensure that we're delivering, and they are delivering, the priorities that we want them to identify, not a set of priorities that are being made from Westminster. We will produce clear priorities for investment over the next 5 years, over the next 15 years, over the next 30 years, of the improvements that we need to see to the strategic network on the Rother Road and the rail, complementing our plans of our local partners at a city region level. We will build on the work of the Rail North Partnership and Rail North in managing the Northern and Transpennine franchises from our base in Leeds, making sure that the transformation that is locked into the Northern and Transpennine franchise are delivered in full over the next 3, 5 and 7 years. And we will also, as we'll hear today, looking to significantly improve the way that people travel around the north, looking at integrated ticketing and looking at affordable fares that you can use using the latest modern technology. And why are we doing this? The north, as I say, is a big economic unit. It's an economy of just over 300 billion GVA, 16 million people, about 7 million jobs, and a significant number of economic and natural assets in our airports, our universities and our ports. Our quality of life wrapped up in our excellent national parks. And we are a big economic unit. However, we underperform. Our economic performance lags behind where it should be for an economic unit of that size. And we need to improve the economic output of the north of England to support not just the north, but to see growth in the UK's economy. Work that we unveiled a year ago, which was signed off by all of those local enterprise partnerships and all of those local leaders, identified the economic opportunities that we have around key prime capabilities. These are the things that we do on a northern level that if we can connect them better and operate them as individual industries across the north, we can compete on a global scale. Supported by enabling capabilities, again, if we can connect these places in a more efficient way, we can identify significant jobs growth. And we believe there's a significant prize of connecting these dots. These are existing and future economic assets across the north of England. And as you can see, they're not all based in city centres. They are based across the north. Our job, and as a human geographer, as background, I like this because this appeals to my joining the dots and colouring in the spaces. This is about connecting these economic assets, enabling people and goods to be moved more efficiently, predominantly east to west. So journeys that currently take over an hour for 30 miles between key centres and economic assets actually need dramatically improving. And the second theme has to be about ambition and transformation. You cannot do this by constantly tweaking existing networks. We need a step change in the infrastructure investment in transport across the north of England. We believe, and the evidence says, there is a significant economic prize by increasing the economic size of the north by almost a third by 2050, by creating in excess of 850,000 new jobs, which will lead in itself to significant increases in rail and road travel. But this is about producing a transport plan that drives economic growth and drives economic transformation, not just responds to the growth that we know that will occur anyway. And to do that, we need to have one clear transport plan, the first ever strategic transport plan covering the north of England. It has to be multimodal because we know that there are significant opportunities for the north in the freight and logistics market. We know that the private sector is investing in our airports and in our ports, using their shareholders' money to invest in those assets. What they want us to do is connect those assets better to their end marketplaces in the north of England, not bringing freight traffic from southern ports all the way up to the north of England. It has to be multimodal, and it has to look at all mechanisms for improving the economic and viability of the north. It has to be ambitious. So my plea would be, we need to make sure that we're keeping our ambition high while delivering in the short and medium term, and making sure that our ambition is driven by economic analysis and feedback from businesses. It can't be a wish list of schemes. It has to be clearly identified and prioritised according to the economic value that it will lever in. Probably most importantly, that's what we then use as the single menu, the manifesto for the North in making the case to central government for our priorities in the north of England. So that we need to identify the links that we need improving, road and rail access between the Sheffield City region and Greater Manchester, access to the Humber ports, access to Liverpool, Manchester, Leeds, Bradford Airport, to name but a few. Making sure that the priorities that we need the investment are reflected in Network Rail and Highways England's plans. I think we can, on behalf of the whole of the North, form a really proactive and vibrant partner with central government to make sure that they're clear of our priorities and working with them to ensure that we can deliver that plan in the long term. We are unveiling the evidence that we've produced so far, and the team will update you a little bit during the day. There's a significant amount of work there on both strategic roads and railways, freight and logistics, international connectivity. There's absolutely loads of work been going on future technologies about integrated ticketing. And all of that's there, and that's great. But that's only one part of the picture. The second part of the picture is, does it feel right? So when we start to play this back to this audience and the audience of the North, the things that we're suggesting, do they chime well with you as businesses and stakeholders? We do not want to produce a plan which is for transport planners. We're here to produce something that is a means to economic activity, and it needs to feel right from your perspective as well as our perspective. Where that has led us, that analysis to date has said there are a number of strategic economic corridors in the north of England. that we need to now have clear implementation plans. How do we improve the motorway system, the A-road system? How do we improve and get more out of the rail system? How do we build on the significant improvements to rail services that will happen through Northern and TransPennine, but at the same time get more out of the existing rail system through digital signalling, for instance? But equally as important, there are corridors on this map that you just need a complete and utter step change in transport connectivity. It should not take you over an hour and a half to drive between Sheffield and Greater Manchester. That needs improving. You should not be forced to go from North Yorkshire down across the M62 and back up to Lancashire. These are economic corridors that will need significant investment over and above that already exists in national programmes. And making the case for those long-term ambitious plans is equally as important as making sure that the short-term delivery happens and that we're working with Network Rail and Highways England to affect each of their 5-year investment programmes. So my final point is about momentum. So as John said, we've done an unbelievable amount over the last 2 years, and that's partly due to the excellent people that Transport for the North have employed over that period. But it's equally as important the input that we've had from the public and the private sector in making sure that TfN does become a statutory body and that our plan is your plan and it's something that we can use to influence national government's spending priorities in the coming years. We are publishing the evidence today, which I think is quite unique, making it available for people to look at and come back. We will be consulting on the plan, but we really need, does it feel right to you? We are being clear about the east-west rail improvements that we need through Northern Powerhouse Rail, and we are being clear with High Speed 2 about how they can use their network to improve the east-west movements as well as north-south. And we will be rolling out the first tentative steps of Smart across the north of England later this year and early next year. The plan will be the plan, but actually that's the manifesto that we need to influence government to make sure that they're spending the right amount of money on our transport infrastructure based on our economic requirements. And becoming statutory body later this year will mean that we're well placed to have a springboard to go forward and make sure that the plan is reflective of your needs, but also enables us to build the business case for significant investment in transport infrastructure in the north. So for me today is about collaboration, and it's not about the sort of loose getting on nicely. It's genuinely about producing a plan that we can all own and use as that manifesto, because we have a real opportunity to make the case for more investment in transport infrastructure in the north of England, because it will drive our economy. And there is a real sense of momentum and buzz around the work that we've done to date, but more importantly, the work that we can do over the next 6 months, the next year, the next 3 years.